When the cannons finally fall silent and the smoke clears from the battlefield, a strange, heavy quiet settles over the earth. The losses are counted in numbers too large for the human heart to hold. Millions of young lives gone. Entire generations of men vanished into the soil. It feels as though a permanent scar has been carved into the face of humanity, a void that can never be filled. But then, in the quiet recovery rooms of hospitals and the humble bedrooms of rebuilt homes, a quiet miracle begins to unfold. In the years immediately following major wars, maternity wards around the world witness an undeniable, mysterious shift. Without any human intervention, without any planning or medical technology, the number of baby boys being born suddenly surges. It is as if some unseen hand is rewriting the code of life. We call it the returning soldier effect. It is one of the most haunting and beautiful mysteries of biology, a moment where science meets the poetic, and we are forced to realize that even when we are at our most destructive, nature is quietly working behind the scenes to heal the wounds we inflict upon ourselves. To understand this phenomenon, we must first look at the delicate math of human birth. Under normal, peaceful circumstances, nature keeps a remarkably steady balance. For every 100 baby girls born, there are usually about 105 baby boys. This slight tilt towards boys is nature's built-in buffer. Biologically speaking, male infants are slightly more vulnerable to diseases and developmental challenges in early life. So this tiny surplus ensures that by the time we reach adulthood, the ratio of men to women is almost perfectly equal. It is a beautiful, self-regulating scale, but when war breaks out, this scale is violently thrown off balance. During the First World War, millions of young men died in the trenches of Europe. And as the conflict ended in 1918, statisticians in the United Kingdom, Germany, and France noticed something astonishing. The ratio of male births didn't just stay the same, it spiked dramatically. Suddenly, for every 100 girls, there were nearly 108, sometimes 109 boys born. The same pattern repeated itself after the Second World War. In 1946, the United States and Europe saw a massive, unprecedented wave of baby boys. How could this be? How does the womb know what is happening on the battlefield? To solve this mystery, we have to look closely at the invisible biological dance between a mother, a father, and the tiny cells that create life. There are two primary scientific explanations for this phenomenon. The first is a simple matter of timing and physical longing. Every human life begins with a race. The father's sperm carries either an X chromosome, which creates a girl, or a Y chromosome, which creates a boy. But these two types of sperm are not identical. They have completely different personalities. Think of the Y-bearing sperm, the ones that make boys, as sprinters. They are small, lightweight, and incredibly fast. They race ahead with intense energy, but they burn out quickly. They do not survive long in the journey toward the egg. Now, think of the X-bearing sperm, the ones that make girls, as marathon runners. They are larger, heavier, and slower, but they are resilient. They can survive for days, waiting patiently for the right moment. Here is where the human story connects with biology. When soldiers return home from war, there is a profound emotional reunion. Couples who have been separated for months or even years find themselves together again. In these periods of passionate reunion, intimacy is highly frequent. When intimacy occurs frequently, sperm do not have to wait around for days for an egg to be released. Because of the high frequency, the egg is often already there or arrives shortly after. In this high-speed environment, the fast-moving Y sprinters have the ultimate advantage. They reach the finish line first. So, simply put, the intense joy and frequency of reunions after long separations naturally favors the birth of boys. But there is a second, even deeper layer to this science. It involves the invisible chemical messengers inside our bodies. Hormones. War is an environment of extreme, chronic stress. When a soldier is on the front lines, and when a partner is waiting anxiously at home, their bodies are flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This prolonged anxiety changes the delicate hormonal balance of both men and women. Scientists have discovered that these hormonal shifts actually act as gatekeepers in the reproductive system. During times of peace and relative calm, a mother's body maintains a hormonal environment that is equally welcoming to both male and female embryos. But during and immediately after times of immense crisis, the hormonal landscape shifts. Some researchers believe that as the stress of war begins to fade and the relief of survival washes over a population, a surge of specific hormones, like testosterone in men and estrogen in women, creates a chemical environment in the womb that is highly favorable to Y-bearing sperm. It is a subconscious biological reaction to survival. The body senses that the environment has been hostile, that life has been threatened, and it adjusts its internal chemistry to maximize the chances of repopulating. We do not choose this. We do not think about it. It is an ancient, survival-driven program running quietly in the background of our DNA. We often like to think of ourselves as separate from nature. We build giant concrete cities. We fly through the skies in metal birds, and we wage wars with weapons of steel and fire. We believe we are the masters of our own destiny, entirely detached from the wild rhythms of the earth. But the returning soldier effect is a gentle, haunting reminder that we are not as separate as we think. We are still children of this planet. We are still bound to the same invisible laws that govern the migration of birds, the blooming of flowers, and the healing of damaged forests. When we tear our world apart with violence, when we create vast voids of loss and grief, the earth does not remain indifferent. Deep within our biology, a silent, ancient mechanism detects the wound, and with quiet, persistent grace, it begins the work of restoration. It reminds us that even in our darkest, most self-destructive moments, life is always biased toward survival. For every shadow we cast, nature quietly prepares a light. And for every life that is lost in the noise of war, a new one is whispered into existence, proving that the urge to heal will always be more powerful than the urge to destroy.